Hi, my name is Brenna Pye, and I'm a board member of the Bluegrass Trust for Historic Preservation. Welcome to this month's virtual deTour. This month, we're introducing you to Chandler Normal School and Webster Hall on Georgetown Road. American architect Vertner Woodson Tandy, Sr. was born here in Lexington in 1885. His father was Henry A. Tandy, the formerly enslaved stonemason, contractor, and entrepreneur whose building firm, Tandy and Bird, was responsible for the 1900 Richardson Romanesque Fayette County Courthouse that still stands here in Lexington. Tandy's career as an architect was illustrious. His most famous design, Villa Lewaro in Irvington, New York, was the home of American entrepreneur Madam C.J. Walker. In 2014, the National Trust for Historic Preservation listed Villa Lewaro as a national treasure. 2 years before he was commissioned to design Villa Lewaro, Vertner Tandy designed Webster Hall on Georgetown Road. According to the National Register of Historic Places application that was created for Chandler Normal School and Webster Hall in 1980, Webster Hall is the only building in Kentucky as yet identified as the work of Vertner Tandy Sr.
September 26, 1919, the Lexington Herald reported in the Colored News Notes, quote, "The Chandler Normal School opens Thursday with an enrollment of 175 pupils, an increase over that of last year. The Reverend J.T. Morrow and the Reverend W.L. Johnson, the Reverend E.E. Everett, and R.H. Hogan made addresses at the opening exercises. The principal of the school is Professor F.J. Working, and new faculty members are Mary Hawkins, History and Latin, Dorothea Rhines, Domestic Science, and Hazel Prescott, English. The Chandler Normal School is one of a chain of schools established in the southern states for the education of the freedmen just after the war between the states in the 1860s. It's just 55 years old, 10 years less than Berea College and Hampton Institute. These schools were maintained by the American Missionary Society of New York, pioneers in the field of Negro education." Hello, I'm Randall Vaughn, FAIA, architect and resident of Lexington, Fayette County. I'm honored to present the February deTour for the Bluegrass Trust for Historic Preservation on the Chandler Normal School here in Lexington, Kentucky. The Chandler Normal School and the Webster Hall Teachers and Principals Home, located at 548 Georgetown Street, was entered on the National Register of Historic Places on December 4th, 1980. The Chandler School grew out of the Howard School, founded in Lexington in 1866 and supported by the Freedmen's Bureau and the American Missionary Society. The Howard School was first located in a Methodist church on Church Street. The school later moved to a two-story frame building at the corner of Corral and Lincoln, now Race Street, in the East End neighborhood. The Howard School deteriorated from overcrowding and lack of financial support in 1882. In response to a plea from the principal of the Howard School, the AMA returned to Kentucky and began to seek a new location for their educational efforts. Mrs. Phoebe Chandler, a wealthy philanthropist from Massachusetts, provided the money, $17,000, to purchase the 4 acres between Georgetown and Newtown Pikes, where the school building would be constructed. Architecturally, the original facade had a 3-story tower that was originally 4 stories, but its upper level and roof were later reconfigured. The formal dedication of the elegant new school building took place on February 10, 1890. It was stylish, solidly built of masonry, and monumental in scale. The Chandler School was a symbol of the importance of education and would inspire any student that entered through the double doors at the base of the 4-story central tower. The school stood 3 stories high, a pyramidal roofed, roughly square mast with Richardsonian Romanesque details. Its facade was divided into 3 bays by a central projecting main entrance tower. Another facade entrance, sheltered by a wooden, bracketed shed roof, was in the bay to its left. Windows in the school were mainly 2/2 double-hung sash windows, with approximately 8 original windows along each side. The first and second-story windows were topped by square transoms, and the third-story windows bore semicircular transoms with arches and boursures above. All the windows had stone lintels and sills. Between 1889 and 1923, the Chandler Normal School educated most of the future African-American teachers in Lexington and central Kentucky. The school originally had 8 grades, but eventually expanded to include all 12. The curriculum was standard, but particular attention was paid to music, athletics, and debate, as well as the installation of high moral and religious standards. Graduates included many well-known educators and influential members of the African-American community, as well as Vertner Woodson Tandy, 1885 to 1949, a nationally known architect and the first African-American registered as architect in the state of New York, designed many notable structures in New York still standing today. Tandy was also one of the first African-Americans to be made a member of the American Institute of Architects. He also designed Webster Hall, the teachers and principals' residence for the Chandler Normal School, in 1914, as well as campus buildings at Lincoln Institute in Simpsonville, Kentucky. Vertner Woodson Tandy was a founding member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1906 at Cornell University. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is the oldest African-American collegiate Greek letter organization in the country. I'm also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Beta Lambda chapter, Lexington, Kentucky. And in 2009, our organization erected a historic marker in honor of Brother Tandy, located at 693 West Main Street near the Salvation Army. The old Dunbar High School, located on Upper Street, opened in 1923, the same year that the Chandler Normal School closed. The building was then purchased by the First Congregational Church of Lexington and rechristened Chandler Memorial Congregational Church. It seems only fitting that the Chandler Normal School became a church after its role as an education facility ended, since churches provided the first organized schooling of any kind for African American children in Lexington after the Civil War. In 2002, a descendant of Ethel Appleby, one of the teachers that came from the northeastern states, Bucksport, Maine in this case, published a book of letters from Ethel titled Miss Apple, Letters from a Maine Teacher in Kentucky. Miss Appleby provides firsthand account in her letters during her time at Chandler and in Kentucky. Miss Appleby accepted her teaching assignment for the 1920-21 school year, teaching 7th and 8th grades. The book is available in the Lexington Public Library in the Kentucky Room. Sadly, in 2022, fire unfortunately destroyed the Chandler Normal School as we know it today. However, the Webster Hall Teachers and Principals Home remains standing today. It requires our attention and focus in terms of history, as well as our consideration for restoration and preservation for this historical structure. To be an architect, as well as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, it meant a great deal to me. And created a great sense of pride to have both a fellow fraternity member as founding member, as well as serving as an architect to erect a marker in his honor in his birthplace, a community where I live and work and contribute. It's brought out a great sense of pride to be a part of the marker committee dedication, acknowledging Vertner Woodson Tandy as a native of Lexington, Kentucky. I think what I find most notable and outstanding in Tandy's style of architecture, many of his commissions in the state of New York, of which I'm familiar, the St. Philip's Episcopal Church, they're all masonry structures. He had a command of architecture primarily in craft and skill. A lot of folks are familiar with Tandy's education. He was formally trained at the Chandler Normal School. From Chandler, he attended Tuskegee Institute in Tuskegee, Alabama, and from there attended Cornell University to receive his architecture degree. So I believe that his skill and craft for masonry, which rightfully so, his father was Henry A. Tandy, well-noted businessman, contractor, and masonry contractor who accomplished a lot of works here in Lexington that are still standing today. Research for this presentation was provided by Miss Yvonne Giles, Miss Janie Rice Brothers, and the book, Miss Apple, Letters from a Maine Teacher in Kentucky.
Thank you for joining us for this month's detour. We hope you learned more about Lexington history. If you'd like to know more about the Bluegrass Trust and our Detours program, please visit us at bluegrasstrust.org.